Hi, everybody. It's Sarah Haas here. Welcome to the Boss Body Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. I am really excited to dive in to today's topic. I have a special guest, Jessica Falcon, and Jessica is an international soul embodiment guide, and she's also an author. And I wanted to have Jessica on because from listening to me that overall wellness is not just about the food you put in your body, and it's not just about exercise. It is a very holistic thing that includes your mind, your body, and your spirit. And a lot of us have gotten out of touch or out of connection with our bodies. We're going through our days, we're busy, we're working, we're ignoring our body's signals. And so there's been kind of a disconnect. And so anytime that I can bring you tools to help you reconnect with yourself and your body and your soul, I love doing that. And that's why I'm so happy to have Jessica on today. Jessica, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Sarah. It's such a pleasure to be here. And I also love diving deep into this topic because we have been very intentionally disconnected from our bodies for thousands of years, because when we connect to the wisdom of our bodies, particularly the wisdom of our soul in and through our body, we really reclaim our power and our freedom and our sovereignty. And so our body is so much more than just a physical body. And when we can tap into that, we tap into so many infinite resources.
Yeah, 100%. So if you would, can you tell me a little bit about you? What's your background? How did you come to be a soul embodiment guide? And then I can't wait to dive into a little bit about what that means.
Yeah, well, I definitely was not always in my body, which is why I think I'm so passionate about this work, because I know what it's like to not feel safe in my body. I
And you
know what
used to
it's
be a
like.
lawyer, correct?
Yes,
So you were very
exactly.
much in the corporate, working all day, long hours, probably skipping meals and, not doing internal work because you're so busy all day long.
Yeah, I wasn't a corporate lawyer, but it's very similar in that I was a criminal prosecutor. And so I worked a lot, as you might imagine. I was very successful at what I did, which meant a lot of research and case preparation and trial work, and was in front of a jury a lot of the time. And so I was very much focused in my head. And that's what I was about to say. Like, when we're disconnected from our body, we're in our head, we're in our mind, and that's the predominant force of our being. And that seemed like a very powerful place to be at that time, because that's what society says, that the mind is more powerful than the body, which is wrong. And that's our safe place also, right? Like, we
And
find
also
safety in the
that
mind.
that outward achievement, that
Yeah.
climbing the ladder is so rewarded and revered in our society. It's not, and thankfully that is starting to turn because of people like you out there, giving this message that it's not all about action. It's not all about success. We're put on this earth to do many things. Some of those are external, but also the internal work. There needs to be that balance because it's just as important.
Well, the external achievement comes when we're told our identity is based on the external. And so the mind at that point, which is what we're all told in the society, if our identity is external, then that means we have to do external things to be good. And when we start to come into the body, we start to connect with the internal, with the soul, as you said, with our inner wisdom, with our inner knowing, with our inner truth. And then we begin to live from the inside out instead of having to go out to be good. We discover the goodness within.
Yeah, it's like Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. It was with you all the time. You didn't have to jump through all these hoops and search, it was there. But we don't feel that. We're not raised that way. Society doesn't tell us that. And so it's a hard transition. I know I'm really guilty of being in my head. I've always been, a perfectionist and, driven. And thankfully, over the years, I've been doing my work so that I'm tapping more into my intuition, which is telling me what I'm put on this earth here to do. And that's how I got into the work that I'm in now versus my past career. And so you've kind of gone through that same change.
Yeah, because we have to unravel. And when we start to connect with our body and our intuition, and I'm happy to talk a little bit more about my journey, but when we start to go through that unraveling, it's always there. Our soul is always here. Our truth is always here. Our wisdom is always here. But we have to confront the ways we've denied it, hidden it, repressed it, shamed it, felt guilty about it. We're so afraid of being seen for who we really are, and afraid of our power, and afraid of our truth, afraid we're never going to be loved, right? For who we really are deep down underneath. It's so ingrained in us. And so we have to unravel and release, and that's transformation. It's not becoming someone you're not, someone new. It is releasing what you are not, and that's ancient feminine wisdom. It is to go into the darkness of your subconscious, into the cave of your body, so that you shed what is not yours, so that you reveal who you really are in your truth.
And
That's
I
transformation.
I would love to hear how you came to, where did this light bulb come from? How did this change start occurring in you when you were living this, very action oriented, hardworking, long hour type of lifestyle?
Well, I've had quite an intense journey, I think, because I'm here with such a big message and mission that I've had to go through a lot. My soul has chosen to put me through a lot. And part of what really woke me up, because I think most of us are always aware of something inside of us. We just don't give it the time and space it needs. And I always felt my soul. I always felt my heart. I always felt different, but I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to connect. So I just focused on the external and did what everybody else, basically said we're supposed to do. Well, in 2008, I experienced a flood where I was living that literally destroyed almost every possession I had, including my car and home, in 4 hours. And
Wow.
so I had to be rescued by firefighters and literally watched everything. I had just purchased a townhome 7 months prior. I literally watched everything before my eyes that I had, quote, worked so hard for, at what, 25, 26, bought my first house, living a, quote, American dream, going, in the middle of a big jury trial as a criminal prosecutor. And then boom, everything stopped. And I went into this deep, dark place of, what am I doing it for? Why am I working so hard? Who is it for? Is it what I want? Why does it matter? Why do I matter? Why does life matter? Those stages where you just question everything, and just questioning and questioning and questioning. And I realized there is so much more to the world than meets the eye. There is so much more to me than I've ever discovered. There's so much more meaning, life. I want to live my life. I want to be fully engaged in life, and not just in my head, not just doing. And so I started to question, well, okay, how? Like, what does this even look like? What does this even mean? How? There was no one really around me talking about this. And I then experienced a bicycle accident that could have very easily killed me and left me really injured. And then I started to get even more into, okay, like I'm definitely, well, I had very spiritual experience that helped me know I am not my body. I'm so much more than my body after the accident, but started looking for meditation. I'd heard the word, I'd read a book, and I'm like, what is this thing called meditation? And so I started to put out a call. I think I said to the universe, help me learn how to meditate. And literally, like 3 days later, I received an email from a woman I hadn't spoken to in 5 years saying she was leading a free meditation course that weekend. And so, long story short, I started learning how to meditate. I don't meditate in that traditional way anymore, but it was a really good introduction to how to develop the observer consciousness. Because when we go into the body, when we do any sort of transformation work, when we're facing our limiting beliefs, we have to be able to observe ourselves. And meditation is a really powerful way to help us see that we are not our thoughts, right? We're not our feelings, we are more. And it develops that capacity on an actual cellular brain wave level.
Yeah, that's so true. You know, if we're always in our head and if we're always busy and we're going, you never have time to go inward and actually, like you said, be that observer. Who am I? What am I put here on this earth to do? All these things. And it can be sort of uncomfortable. You said earlier, like, it's more of a comfort zone to stay in your head because all you have to do is put one foot in front of the other and get to where you want to go. It's kind of like here's the roadmap. You go to school, you get a job, you succeed, you work hard, you move up, check, check, check. But slowing down, I know for me, is hard and scary almost, because it's almost like if I really go inside, am I going to like what I find, you know? And B, what if I have to confront uncomfortable things in there? What if there's emotions that I haven't dealt with that I don't want to deal with? And to me, that is much harder than just the outward, actions and physical things in life.
It absolutely is, because we're taught to fear ourselves and we're taught to fear our emotions and we're taught we're powerless over all of it. And so until we decide and learn how to, and that's where it's helpful to have a guide who can really help get you there in a way that you feel safe and supported. There's so much inside of us that we are scared to see. And walking around scared of yourself, how can you be in your power? Right? And so if you actually want to create and live the life of your desires, because we all have desires, even when you think you don't know what you want, you actually do. You're just really afraid to claim it. And so when we start to look at, all right, this feeling I don't like, guess what? I have the power to change it. Right? It's not like we go in, at least from the transformational perspective that I have. It's not like we go in and we're just like, oh, I'm subject to this feeling. Oh, like, oh, I feel this horrible way and I don't know how to get out of it. Or, oh, there's so much anger and I'm just stuck in it. Or I just feel this grief that never ends. Like, that's not embodiment. It's not about going in and saying, oh, there's all these things I don't want to face because I feel powerless to change my life. The purpose of embodiment is to go in and say, all right, show me what's here. Show me what's here. Because I'm ready to be in my power and I'm ready to create the life I desire. I'm ready to take full ownership over myself and who I am. So show me what's here, because none of it makes me bad. None of it makes me wrong. None of it makes me unacceptable. And we anchor into our hearts, and we anchor into our truth, and we let that shine the light on what is not our truth. And we see the feeling, and we look at it, and we let it be, and we accept it. And then we say, is this my truth? Because if it's not, we have the power to then align the feeling to what is our truth. And that's how we create change.
And so basically, as a guide, that's what you're doing. You're helping people go within and discover what they really do know, but they don't know that they know. We're born with certain desires and skills, and sometimes we don't harness those. We don't move toward that because of whatever, because of like what we've been talking about. Society says, no, you should be a doctor, you should be a lawyer, you should do whatever, XYZ. And when you go within, and what I hear you saying is you're helping people kind of dive in and connect with that intuition, which is another thing that society teaches us is woo woo, is, a woman thing, is like emotions, it's unreliable. And so going in and finding that intuition so that you can start creating the life you're meant to have versus the life you think you should lead.
Or that you tolerate even though you don't want, because deep down you don't realize you're worthy of more. Because when I work with clients, intuition is a big part of it, but I would say it's even more than that, because it's really about touching and owning a deep source of power within. That kind of power is invincible. And it includes the power of trusting ourselves, which we're told not to do, particularly as women. So much of my research and experience is the ways in which the feminine has been suppressed. And it includes this: women aren't allowed to trust themselves. You're not allowed to choose for yourselves. You're not allowed to desire for yourselves. It's all there. It's not like the wisdom isn't inside your body, right? It's not like you don't already have these desires. It's that you're not trusting it. You're not owning it. You're doubting it. Am I allowed? Can I? Should I? If I do, what will happen? All the fears, right? All the concerns, all the anxiety. Well, I'm not even worthy of that. How dare I claim that desire? How dare I, right, trust myself when everybody else is telling me something different? I've gone through that so many times, I can't even count it, where my inner truth, inner authority, sovereignty was so different from what everyone else around me thought, said I should be doing. And I will tell you what, even though I've had moments of being like, wow, that took me on a very different path than I expected, including leaving the legal profession and going to Europe on a spiritual pilgrimage. I look back now, it was exactly what my soul wanted me to experience, because we are not here to live purely 3D physical lives, doing purely 3D physical things and running around like hamsters. We are not hamsters. We are powerful, magnificent beings. We are eternal. We are divine. We are light filled. We are love filled. We are so much more than we've ever been told we are. And when we start to harness that power, that divine power, we literally shift everything from the inside out. We never see ourselves the same again.
I love your message about power, because I know in my life, and most women have experienced this, we don't feel powerful. It's a very male model of society, and thank goodness it's evolving, but it's taking its time. And the male version of how things should go is prevalent, in everyone's minds, like, oh, this is the way we get things done. This is the way we're successful. This is the way we're supposed to live life. And I absolutely love that you are saying, no, we as humans have this power within us. And the world is meant to be a balance of the masculine and feminine, the yin and the yang. And the yin has been pushed down, underrated, you know, diminished. And in order for the world to be balanced, we have to step into our power so that we're living that. And and whatever you believe is your source, your higher power, your sovereignty, I believe that we are part of it. It is within us. And I think every religion pretty much teaches that God is not just, or whatever you want to call it, universe, spirit, higher power, isn't just this something external, like up in the clouds or whatever. It's everything, and it's part of us, and it is something that we are meant to tap into and use. And I feel like what you're doing is giving women permission to tap into that and own it, and then let it ripple out to the way that you live your life.
Absolutely. And feminine power, and we use these terms feminine and masculine because that's what we've been given, and these are the terms. So I'm using the terms we've been given, even though we could have a whole big conversation about where these terms originate from. But feminine power, I refer to as the power that's been denied us, the power we've forgotten, the power that's been suppressed or deemed inferior. That power, which I'll call feminine power, that power comes from the body. It comes from our connection to nature. It comes from our connection to our womb. It comes from our connection to our heart, to love. It comes from our ability to see ourselves and others truly. It comes from hearing, listening, silence. It comes from an inner wellspring of wisdom and knowledge that we will never receive from outside of ourselves, and nor can we ever truly have intimacy with ourselves, much less with another, if we're not tapping into that wellspring and connecting to the body as an infinite source of wisdom, because the body is a portal to the divine. The body is a communication device for your soul. It is holy. And I know that you really guide your clients to work with intuitive eating, right? Rather than just following a rule book. It's that same, if we can trust ourselves and connect with that wisdom and live from that place, we truly become our own authority. Because we're not doing what we're told to do. We are living our own soul's truth. And there's a massive difference in how we feel and show up in the world.
Yeah, what we're meant to do is inside of us. And when we tap into it and we figure it out and start living it, that is how we contribute to the world. That is how this balance comes about, if everybody is living what they're meant to do. So, and I also wanted to mention that you're in the process of writing a book. And is it called The Power of Eve? Do I have that right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I love that because that just really taps into everything that we've been talking about. And, just the fact that a woman's body has the power to create life. I think even that fact has been so devalued or diminished in the world, starting back with the stories that you hear about Eve and how bad she was and how evil and what a temptress. And, she ruined everything. And that's why childbirth is painful. And that's why you have, periods and all that stuff. And so I like, reclaiming Eve's power and, you see children are born all the time, women are pregnant, they give birth, yada, yada, yada. Must not be that big of a deal if everybody's doing it. But if you've ever done it, it is a Herculean feat. It is growing. I mean, it's a miracle growing a human inside your body and then bringing it into the world and being able to feed it with your body is like mind-blowingly amazing. But it has somehow become, you know, having children and raising them has become sort of the inferior to the male model out in the world working. It's kind of like, oh, well, anyone can do that. But come on, this is the human race. This is how we continue on this earth. So, that just popped into my head. So I wanted to mention it because I feel like that sort of ties back into, now your book's not released yet. You're working on it. It's going to come out in the next couple of years. So I can't wait to check that out. And I will be for sure sharing that with my audience once that's available. Cause we could talk for hours because you're just a wellspring of, you're speaking my language. But I want to give people something tangible that they can take away from your message today. So when you work with clients or, when you talk to people, I know you're a speaker and you do workshops and things like that. What's a takeaway? What's a first step kind of starting point that if people are listening and they're like, okay, that sounds great. I want to tap in. I want to start learning my soul's purpose. I want to build that connection with myself and I want to create the life I desire. Can you give us something to get started?
Yeah, I do wish really quickly that we had so much more time to talk about what you just said around Eve, because there's so much to say around why. That's all in my book, actually.
I'll
So
have you back on once the book comes out. You let me know and we will come on and talk all about it.
So for what I'd say today around the first steps you can take, I'll give you a practice that you can start. And I also want to mention I have a free meditation on my website. It's an activation of your sovereignty. I think it's about 20 minutes long, and it takes you into your body. It has spoken words activations in it. I use light language, but I don't use it in this particular activation. It's more spoken word frequency and vibration to just really kind of anchor into your body and make the declaration of your sovereignty. And it's followed up by journal prompts to really help you look at this relationship with yourself. And so that's a really free resource that you can easily access. I do Soul Embodiment Sundays, once a month, to really teach you how to come into and connect with your body and its wisdom and work with your body's energy centers. It's only $13 to join for a month. So that's another really powerful, accessible way. And a practice that you can start like right now when you're listening is, there's so many. Let me see the one that feels the most aligned for particularly your audience. I feel the heart, because it's so easy to get wrapped up in the mind, what we should be doing and how we should be feeling, and to really use the power of your heart, which is the power of love, to be in honor and be grateful for your body. Because when you start to develop higher frequencies with your body, all the lower frequencies eventually have no choice but to move, to leave, to show themselves. So if you just would bring your hands to your heart, we'll do like 1 minute of an example, and you can do this for way longer on your own. If you just bring your hands to your heart and really feel into that sacred space of your heart and start to connect with the power of your heart, the power of love inside of your heart, because your heart is not just yours. Your high heart connects you to the divine love of all that is, in whatever way that you define that. And when you start to feel that energy, you can start to increase the vibration of love. So whether it's saying the word love, imagining love, feeling love, feeling that vibration in your heart. And then with your awareness and intention, start to increase that feeling of love so it moves to the front, back, and sides of your heart. And I'm moving through this quickly on purpose, but just begin to allow that love to move up through your head, neck, through your arms and hands, down through your core. That love moving like liquid light down into your belly, where so many women hold so much shame. Down into your beautiful belly. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It doesn't matter the thoughts you have been told to have about your belly and how it looks and how it should look. Your belly, every cell holds the divine. Every cell holds love, and you get to choose to activate that love in you now. And then bringing the liquid love down into your pelvis, into your legs, all the way down to your feet. Fill the chakras of your feet, the soles of your feet with love. And if you just do this very simple practice every day, you can open your eyes or stay here, just giving so much love through your whole body, letting it circulate through you, letting it move through you. Oh, it's so powerful. Connects you to you, and it opens your body, because when your body starts to open, it needs to feel safe to open. It needs to feel safe to express itself. And when you open your heart to it, you create that safety for it to speak to you.
Thank you. Oh, that was wonderful. I love that. I can just feel like this warm golden glow. And, the self-love is so important. And it's one of those things that so many of us don't have. So that's a great meditation. And I love that, this is a podcast, so it's recorded so people can go back to it and listen to it again. I wanted to mention that Jessica's website is thepathtosovereignty.com. And you also have a podcast, correct?
The Radically
Radically
Embodied Love.
Embodied Love. Yeah, I love that. So you guys can go check that out, get the meditation, read all about Jessica and her work. All the information is going to be in the show notes. Jessica, thank you. I love your message. It's just so wonderful. And you've just been a joy to have on today. So thanks so much for sharing your wisdom with us today.
Thank you so much, and thank you for what you do. I know when we first spoke, we just really resonated already and connected. So it's been such a pleasure. It's such an honor
Yes.
to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you all for being here and for tuning in. And that's our show for today. So until next time, I will see you then.